Now, until about 20 years ago, there were no guitar amp processors or guitar amp simulators or any way of changing a sound after you'd recorded your guitar part, except for reamping, and that's what I'm going to discuss today. Now, it's very convenient now. You've got your iOS, or you've got your Logic, or your Cubase, or Ableton, or whatever you're using with a guitar amp simulator. You can just choose the guitar amp after you record. That's because the computer is recording your guitar as a dry signal. It's not actually recording the amplifier, it's recording it dry. Now, I'm going to do that today, except I'm going to play back the guitar sound that I record through different physical amplifiers. Now, on the floor here, I've got a set of stomp boxes, and I've also got a DI box. Now, what the DI box is doing is recording my guitar dry, but still allowing the guitar signal to then pass through my stomp boxes, which themselves are recorded as well without a guitar amp, and then into my amplifier at the end. So I've got two things, two dry signals that I'm recording, the guitar and the effects pedals, and a third thing, I've got my mic in front of my guitar amp. Okay, that sounds quite complicated, but it does afford you some options, especially if you go into a studio, you bring your Fender amp in, you set it up and you play your track, and the producer goes, oh yeah, great, we can, yeah, it's not really sitting right in the mix. I wonder if we could do that through a different amp. And you think, oh, okay. And yet the take was good and all that. So you can sort of get into deep water. Now, I've got my guitar here, which I'm going to do a little bit of recording, and I'm going to record a sort of some chords and then a bit of a lead line, so that we can decide maybe I want the solo to go through a different amp and I want the from the chords. So here we go. I'm going to record something, and I'm going to use the stomp boxes as I go as well. So just plugged in my amp there. So I've got my Fender Tweed amp. Okay, now, so there's a range of things there. So the computer has recorded three things. It's recorded the output of this mic, and it's also recorded the dry signal and the signal through the stomp boxes before it gets to the amp. There's a diagram of how to set this up at the end. It can seem a little bit complicated, but it is worth doing if, like me, you do still like your guitar amps as well as the modelling technology, things like the pod or the computer. I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to guitar sounds. I don't mind, but I do like old amps. So next thing you'll see is me trying out various guitar amps with what I've just recorded. So in the first half you saw I basically recorded a bit of guitar through my Fender amp over here, and you can still see the mic in front of it. And I also recorded the dry signal, not only from the guitar, but also from the output of the stomp boxes. Now, on the computer, and you can see the computer screen as a separate camera, you can see that I've recorded 4 tracks. Why 4? Well, this one here, the third one down, is the narration mic that I recorded. So we can discount that. In fact, I might just mute it, just so that you can see that we're dealing with 3 things. The top one is the guitar dry, the guitar signal recorded dry, and then the pedals recorded dry on the next one down, and you can see that the waveform's a little bit different because of the fact I used the effects. And then at the bottom is the guitar amp, the original guitar amp. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play that part. I've just got this top part soloed, which is the guitar dry, and I'm going to play it through various amps. Now, I've got just a standard lead that goes from headphone output to 2 jack plugs. Now, it's important, really important here, that you don't plug a mono jack or guitar lead into your headphone output of your sound card, because you'll blow one side of the headphone amplifier on your sound card. So it must be a stereo one. You can see the 2 little sort of bands there. So I'm going to plug this in. At the moment you can see the computer playing. I'm going to plug it into my headphone output, and then I'm going to put it into the Vox AC30. So I've just got to put this other mic in front of it so that you can hear it, and we can hear that it's a vastly different sound to the Fender amp. You might like it, you might not. Here we go. You can change the sound of the amp according to your requirements. You can use the spring reverb. Maybe I could go back to my Fender amp and use the spring reverb. Maybe I forgot to put it on, and I could just put it on after recording. So there's masses you can do. Now, down here is my JC-120, so the classic Japanese transistor sound. However, this one has got the only real stereo chorus because it's built into the amp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my one mic in front of one speaker, and I'm going to put my narration mic that I've got here in front of the other, and then you'll be able to hear that there's quite a nice stereo chorus sound. So excuse the slight bumping as I'm moving this mic over. I'll try to do it gently. There we go. And then I'll just lower the mic down, and then you'll be able to hear the output of this guitar amp. So now I've got my two mics. I'm having to shout now because the narration mic is in front of the guitar amp. I'm going to put this same part through the Roland JC-120, and you can hear how it sounds. Pretty good, I would think. Let's say now I want to put the output of the stop boxes that I recorded into here. All I do is go to the computer and solo out the dry output of the pedals. Now, I'll just bring the narration mic back up. There we go. There's a lot of adjustment that needs doing in studios, but now I've got the narration mic back here, you can hear that there are many, many possibilities. I could even put the sound of the Fender amp through another amp so that you're amping an amp. Why not? The electric guitar, this thing, when it was designed in 1954, you know, the designers can't have imagined all of the effects and all of the wonderful electronics that would accompany it through its existence. So I'm going to now just put the guitar amp, the original Fender amp that I had. Now remember, this had the stomp boxes on it, so you've got to be a bit careful. If you want to record the amp dry, you'd have to put another amp in another. Yeah, sometimes there are too many possibilities and sometimes far too many options. And part of the creative process actually involves using what you've got, and because the thing can then change direction. So I'm going to play the guitar amp. I'm going to put the mic, let's leave the mic on the JC, and I'm going to put the Fender amp through the JC. I quite like that. I think that's all right. I think that's pretty good. There's all sorts of possibilities. Now the purists will say, yeah, but the guitar presents an impedance to the amp and they have to be matched and all that. Well, yeah, okay, I can see that. And also, you might get problems with hum. If you're coming from the output of a sound card back into your guitar amp, you may have problems with level matching. Now, you can pretty much do it by ear. If you play back the dry signal back through your Fender amp, you can kind of hear whether it's roughly what you recorded or whether it isn't. But you could also use the sound card to really ramp up your output level and break the, or rather distort the input tubes to your preamp. You might want that. Don't know. The world's your oyster. Reamping, it's really quite a nice method.